That's right, everybody, we're jumping into another round of this already. Cause see, after last week's famous animated characters as mech suits episode, I saw the response to that episode and I thought, I really should take another crack at this concept, but in a week where I can actually take my usual amount of time with it. But this week I've got all the time I need to spend on some really good designs of more famous animated characters as mech suits. But to be honest, the other main reason I wanted to take another crack at this episode is because it seemed like everybody liked listening to this new narrator character as much as I liked writing him. So once again today, let's check in with old Benny Shop and his mech making business, shall we? Let's go.
Hit like if you want, subscribe if you feel like, but either way, enjoy the show.
Alright, so I've given you this rundown before, right? I live in a world full of crazy superheroes and villains and all that kind of nonsense, so regular old folk come round to me to build them mech suits, so they can protect themselves or their families or whatever they want to do with a super robot suit. As long as they pay, I don't ask them nothing except what they want the suit to do, of course. But I guess you people all liked hearing about these suits because you're back here for more. So how's about I regale you with the tale of some of the other mechs I built, huh? First up is one for a friend of another kid I built a suit for. You remember that kid I mentioned last time? He came looking for a super suit to show people on a weird island that he lives on that not all superpowered people are so bad. Well, it turned out he actually did convince people, cause all his little friends came looking for mech suits too. And they all paid just as well. The best one I made though was for this gal Astrid, and I tell ya, I like this kid. She reminded me of my ma. Like she'd bust your head in for talking back to her kind of gal, you know what I mean? Nothing like that first kid, he seemed a lot more jumpy and shy. A little bit toothless if you feel me. Anyway, this gal seemed real sharp, and I tell ya, I know sharp, cause I'm Benny Sharp. Anywhere I go, I'm the sharpest guy in the room, you feel me? Anyway, she wanted a real fighter of a suit, so I put spikes all over this thing. You try to hug her while she's in this thing and you'll end up like Swiss cheese. Plus, it can shoot out these spikes like little rockets and they come back to her. It's a beautiful thing. Of course, I made it fly too. All these kids wanted the mech suits to fly, and I tell ya, they got their heads screwed on right. Honestly, I'll build people suits that don't fly if that's what they want, but to me, any suit that can't get off the ground ain't worth having. I also put flamethrowers in the palms of this thing. That was a specific request. A bunch of the kids wanted that too. Guess they got an island full of arsonists or something, but whatever. Like I said, I don't ask questions. Of course, I had to put some limits on that because of the size of the suit, so it can only shoot so much fire before it runs out. Then it needs time to reload, but should be enough to roast whatever they're looking to cook. Anyway, that island kept me busy for quite a while. They all paid well and had a lot of wacky requests, so it was a real good time for old Benny. But of course, I do got plenty of other stories for you coming up. Now, after I did my toothless hiccup mech fusion kind of thing in the last episode, I got a bunch of requests for Astrid and Stormfly, and I was super excited to do this one because I knew it was going to be a very different kind of dragon-inspired suit because Toothless and Stormfly are so different looking. And I decided to take some Gundam inspiration for this one. I mean, mostly in the head, like it's not a full-sized Gundam mech kind of suit, it's more of an Iron Man kind of size, but I really like how the head ended up turning out with a bit more Gundam inspiration, having a lot of spiky kind of things sticking out from the head. I thought that would work really well for Stormfly, and it came together pretty much as I was hoping. This one does end up feeling a little bit more chaotic with all the spikes sticking off of it, but I'm kind of okay with that and actually kind of like it, even though it's a little bit more busy than I usually try to go for, but because it contrasts nicely with the other suits coming up, I think it's a really good addition to this episode. Super happy with the final result, and I hope you all like it as well. Here's our Astrid Stormfly mech suit. Next up is one of my most widely known mech suits, because the guy who wears it is this crazy famous racer dude named McQueen. I mean, he calls himself Lightning, but on his license it said Owen, so I like to call him that. I mean, I think it's funnier. What kind of famous car driver's name is Owen, right? Anyway, the guy comes to me and he says, hey, a bunch of my racing buddies are getting mech suits built. One's based off of our own cars, because we want to do this trial mech racing tournament thing for TV. They want to see if they can get a new sport off the ground or something. Anyway, he says he's heard I'm the best in town, which frankly is an insult because I'm the best in the nation at least. But I let it slide because the guy's got cash coming out of his tailpipe, if you know what I mean. He says he wants the slickest, smoothest, reddest looking mech suit I ever did build. He said he wants anyone who looks at it to immediately say, wow. But more so, he obviously wants the thing to be fast, but he don't even want the thing to fly. Apparently these racing guys are all getting roller mech suits built. You know, with the wheels and the feet or whatever. I think it's a weird choice, but he's paying and he's paying good, so I gotta go for it. I spent a solid month on this suit alone. Built it from the ground up. No templates, no recycled bits, and nothing. And listen to this, the guy even had me put a bunch of his sponsored decals on it, right? But then he comes to me for the final checkup and says I gotta remove him. Apparently he did some court-mandated charity work or something in some podunk town while the suit was being built. Made a bunch of friends there and got some new sponsors, and needed me to replace the old decals with the new ones. Was annoying, obviously, but he paid up for the fix, so what do I care? I'll throw on decals of Betty Crackett's Rainbow Sprinkles if he wants that, as long as I'm getting paid to do it. Of course, I did end up telling him not to tell other people where he got the suit from. See, I get enough business from word of mouth around town, and if I get too well known, some folks might start poking into my business a bit too much, and let's just say I ain't exactly the best at paying my taxes on time. And by that I mean I ain't never given the government a single cent in my life. Plus, I've built some mech suits for some pretty shady folk, and the more people who know about that, the worse my reputation gets. Not that it's super sparkly to begin with, but whatever, my profile doesn't need to get any bigger. Old Benny Shop's mech making business is doing just fine. Now for this suit, I wanted to make it really slick and clean and look like a race car turned into an Iron Man suit, which kind of is what Iron Man's suit is, but, you know, I wanted to do that same kind of thing for this. I also really like making the feet bigger on this one by putting the wheels on the front and back. Because see, I could have done regular rollerblades where the wheels are underneath the feet, but then I have to make them a lot smaller so they can actually roll properly. Doing them like this on the front and back, I can make them bigger, and that makes the feet bigger, which is obviously a thing I like to do, making big feet and big hands. I've done this same kind of design on my Accelerate superhero in the Ben 10 Superheroes episode, and I think I did the same thing with Biomech Kayla. Also, just as a side note, I'm having such a hard time not dipping back into the Benny Sharp voice for the design notes part of this. Oh, and if anybody's wondering where I got the name for Benny Sharp, I actually stole him from a friend of mine, Cal. Cal's popped up on the channel a couple times, and basically he had an old Dungeons and Dragons character that he used once that was named Billy Sharp that had this same kind of voice. So I slightly tweaked that and actually took the name of my friends Cal and Terry's dog, Benny, and made this character Benny Sharp. So it's not really a clever reference to anything, but I thought it worked well for the character. Mostly because I like how Benny Sharp sounds in the voice, you know? Anyway, coming down to the end of this drawing, I hope you all like the result. Here it is, Lightning McQueen.
We're taking a quick pause here so I can sell you some ink bundles. I can't sell you a mech suit in real life because they're not real, but you know what is real? My ink bundles. You like coloring? You should buy an ink bundle. Already bought one? You should buy a second one. I got a whole bunch of different ones. I got one for monsters, I got one for superheroes, I got a goopy bundle. It's actually a venomized bundle, but I called it a goopy bundle to avoid copyright issues, but don't tell the feds that. Anyway, those are all linked in the little bar beneath this video. So did you buy one yet? What's the matter with you? Go buy an ink bundle. They're all down there along with other shirts and posters and stuff like that. If you ain't bought one yet, that's your loss, but for now, let's get into more mech suits, shall we? Let's go.
Alright, now last time I was telling you about some of my best works, I mentioned that pretty simple tiger suit that I built for that kung fu lady, right? The gal who needed an armor to fight off another dude running around in a leopard mech suit stirring up trouble in Chinatown. Whose suit I also happened to build, but obviously I didn't make her privy to that sensitive information. Anyway, afterwards, this hunched old dude comes to me looking like he's 1,000 years old, and he asks me to build another suit to fight off that same leopard guy. But the old guy doesn't want it for himself. He gives me the measurements of this real tubby dude who he thinks has potential to be a great fighter or something. He called him like a dragon warrior or something like that, so I assumed, alright, he wants a dragon mech built, right? But nope, Weirdo wants me to build the guy a panda suit with similar specs to the tiger lady. Sounds kinda rude to me making a tubby guy dress up like a panda, but what am I gonna do about it? Now I don't know if all these weird folks coming in have some kind of furry club or something on the side, but a lot of them seem to be wanting animal mechs. I don't get the obsession with animals. I mean, I got a cute little dog myself, but you don't see me running around in a metal version of the pupper, do ya? But anyway, this old wrinkled leather handbag of a human being is paying way better than the tiger lady, so I make whatever he wants, right? Because he was really paying up, I added a little bit more than he wanted to. I'm classy like that, I know what my work's worth. I added this special shockwave attack that if the guy wearing it flicks his pinky just right, he can obliterate anything in half a block. Hope he doesn't use it when there's civilians around, of course. Probably should have warned him about that, but I got stuff to do. I ain't got time for that. I don't even know if the kid'll figure out that the suit can do that. But I will be sure to check for news of a smashed up mechanical leopard suit in Chinatown. And of course hope that he comes to me for repairs. I could be in a bit of trouble if they figure out that I'm building suits for both sides of this fight, but hey, Benny Shop don't worry about nothing till it's on his doorstep. You know what they say about worrying, it's like a rocking chair. It's a stupid waste of time and it don't get you nowhere. Now this mech to me is just the one where I absolutely crushed it for this episode. I mean, I liked how all of them turned out in this episode, but this one I really love. It just feels so solid and sturdy. The only part of it that I don't like is I messed up his back foot a little bit. It's kind of a different shape than his front foot, and occasionally when I'm looking at it, my eye will just dart down there and be like, ooh, this was so close to being what I consider to be a perfect PopCross Studios kind of drawing if it weren't for that foot. But I mean, that's barely noticeable. I don't know if people would have noticed if I hadn't even pointed it out. But besides that, just absolutely love how this one turned out. And it's convinced me further that I need to mess around with the proportions of my characters a bit more. After I did the Shrek mech in the last episode, even though it was a rushed drawing, I did really like doing the chubbier, chunkier kind of robot. And I realized from doing that and this that I haven't really done any chubby male characters on the channel before, and I've only done a few chubby female characters, but after looking at this and some of the other chubbier kinds of characters I've done, I'm like, I really should change up my proportions from the generic superhero kind of shape a bit more. I mean, I don't know how frequently I'll do that, but it is more on the top of my mind now, to mess around with those kind of proportions. Anyway, love how this one turned out. Hope you all like our Kung Fu Panda mech. Let's take a look at the finished result. See, I get enough business from working out. Ugh. Okay. Business. That's so hard to say. See, I get enough business from working. Anyway, he says he's heard I'm the best in town, which frankly is an insult because I'm the best in the nation. Okay. He says he's heard I'm the best in town, which frankly is an insult because I'm the best in the nation at least. Okay. Frankly is an insult, because I'm the best in the nation, at least. But, I let it slide, because this guy's got cash coming out of his tailpipe, you know. This is my favorite line in the history of PopCross Studios, by the way. Okay.
I honestly don't think it's possible for anyone out there to be enjoying Benny Sharp as much as I am, but hopefully some of you out there are liking him almost as much as I am. And I absolutely love it when an episode comes together this well. I loved everything about the lore and the artwork. It really all meshed together exactly how I wanted it to. And I'd love to do more of these, so if you've got more suggestions of what to turn into mech suits, leave them in the comments, like usual. I've seen some suggestions for a Ben 10 Aliens episode, and I definitely think that could be a lot of fun. Of course, I could always do more animated characters, maybe even branch into some TV show stuff, like Kipo and the Age of Wonder Beasts, or Avatar The Last Airbender, stuff like that. But anyway, if you're new to the channel, as I said, you can check out the last episode on this same concept. I've also got a whole playlist full of Transformers episodes, like Spider-Man villains as Transformers. The art is kinda similar to this, I guess. And of course, as I've been recommending a whole bunch, my SCP superhero videos. Really like how those are turning out, and the next episode on this channel will be another one of those. But for now, that's all for today. I'm Christian Pearson. This has been PopCross Studios, home of the nerdiest art videos on YouTube. Thanks so much for watching, everybody, and I'll see you all in the next episode on Friday. Goodbye.